Far beyond the bustling stars of human colonies in the cold reaches of uncharted space, the galaxy seemed quiet. Most ships followed established routes, carrying goods, passengers, or war memories from one planet to another. But sometimes, in the silent darkness, something old and forgotten drifted among the stars. Captain Elias Ward sat alone in the pilot chair of the Resolute, an old salvage ship patched with years of repairs and human ingenuity. The hull was scratched from past journeys. The engines groaned when pushed too hard, and the navigation system blinked occasionally with warnings. Elias didn't mind. To him, the ship's imperfections were like an old friend's wrinkles, signs of experience, proof of survival. Elias had once been a Navy engineer, trained to fix any ship under fire, but he had left that life behind. He now roamed the edges of human space, chasing contracts that were dangerous enough to pay well but quiet enough to let him think. Today, however, something different had reached him through the deep space communication array. It started as a faint signal, barely detectable. At first, Elias thought it was just interference, a blip in the cosmic background noise. But then he heard it, a soft, almost pleading voice hidden in the static. It repeated a single phrase, broken and warped by time. "Help, can you hear me?" Most humans would have ignored it. Most would have assumed it was a malfunction, a joke, or a trap. But Elias felt something he couldn't explain. His heart quickened. There was no malice in that whisper. There was only desperation. He leaned closer to the console, adjusting the frequency and amplifying the signal. The voice became clearer, and then the words made him shiver. "Captain Ward, please, help." His name, the signal was calling him. Elias frowned. No one could know his name out here. No one could know he existed. And yet the voice had found him, reaching across light years through dead space and broken stars as if it had waited centuries just for him. Curiosity won over caution. He plotted a course toward the signal. The readings showed a massive object drifting not far from a collapsed star cluster. The ship appeared enormous, a relic from the human wars that had ended long before Elias was born. "Whatever you are," Elias muttered, "I hope you're worth the trouble." The journey to the signal was tense. The stars outside the viewport seemed colder, sharper, almost unwelcoming. Sensors flickered, showing fragments of debris, remnants of ships that had vanished into the void. Space itself seemed to hold its breath as the Resolute approached its mysterious target. Hours later, the source appeared, a giant silhouette floating in the darkness. Its shape was unmistakable. It was a warship, an ancient human battleship, or at least what remained of one. The markings were faded, the hull scarred and twisted from time and conflict. It drifted like a corpse, silent and lonely. Elias's stomach tightened. This was no ordinary salvage. The ship had a name that was remembered in history books, the Vigilant Star. It had been one of the most powerful warships during the Galactic War, protecting fleets, civilians, and even planets from enemy attacks. And then centuries ago it vanished. Destroyed in battle, the historians had said. Yet here it floated, somehow alive, somehow calling to him. "Old girl," Elias whispered, using the old nickname for the ship he had never seen alive. "What happened to you?" He approached carefully, keeping the ship's thrusters ready for a quick retreat. Docking was risky. The hull looked unstable, and any misstep could tear the Resolute apart. Yet, as he aligned the ship with the derelict, he noticed something remarkable. The energy readings from the Vigilant Star were not completely dead. There were faint pulses, tiny but steady. Someone or something was inside. Elias suited up and prepared the airlock. His heart raced, not from fear but from anticipation. This was the kind of moment a human never forgets. Standing at the threshold of history, facing the unknown, knowing that courage alone might be the difference between life and death. The airlock hissed and opened. He floated inside, magnetized boots clicking against the metal floor. Darkness stretched ahead, broken only by flickers of failing lights. Dust and debris drifted lazily in zero gravity. The corridors were silent except for the faint hum of something still alive. "Vigilant Star," he called, his voice echoing. "I'm Captain Elias Ward, I hear you." The ship responded. A voice, distorted and mechanical yet unmistakably alive, filled the corridor. "Elias, you came." The words made him pause. The ship remembered him. Not personally, of course, but the AI within recognized a human capable of understanding, of empathy. Most species would have ignored the signal. Most would have moved on. But humans could listen. He moved deeper into the ship, careful with every step. The hull groaned as if the vessel itself was breathing again after centuries of silence. Panels flickered, showing fragments of memories, old logs, battle records, crew messages. The walls whispered stories of bravery, of sacrifice, of a human crew that had refused to abandon their post, even in the face of impossible odds. Then Elias found the heart of the ship, the bridge. Instruments hung like broken teeth in the dim light, consoles sparking intermittently. And there, on a central pedestal, a faintly glowing core pulsed. "Hello?" he called again. "Are you Vigil?" The AI answered clearly now, voice steady despite the corruption in its systems. "I am Vigil." I waited for someone who could hear the whisper. Elias felt a chill. Centuries of waiting. Not for a fleet, not for a human Navy officer, but for a single human capable of compassion and courage. And now he was here. "Why me?" he asked softly. "Because only a human could understand. Because only a human would come." The words hung in the air, almost sacred. Elias realized the gravity of the moment. He wasn't just facing a ship in distress. He was facing a legend, a survivor of human history calling across time for someone who could save it. He checked the systems. The reactor was unstable, barely functioning. Life support flickered. The ship could collapse at any moment. And yet Elias didn't hesitate. "I'll help you," he said. "Whatever it takes." The AI pulsed in response, almost like a heartbeat. "Then let us begin." And so, in the shadow of a dying warship, floating alone in the cold depths of space, a human and a machine began a journey that would become a story told for generations. One whispered call had led a man to a ship lost to history, and one human's courage might be enough to bring a legend back to life. As Elias moved through the corridors, repairing broken systems, rerouting power, and awakening the ship's core functions, he couldn't help but feel awe. This was what humans were made for, to face the impossible, to risk everything, and to hear the whispers others ignored, and far beyond the stars, unknown eyes in distant systems would soon notice something they hadn't in centuries. A human ship moving in ways the galaxy had forgotten, accompanied by a voice that refused to die. Elias smiled beneath his helmet. He didn't know how the story would end. He only knew one thing. Humans answered calls others could not, and that was enough to change the universe. The vigilant star had whispered, and humanity had answered. The Resolute floated silently alongside the vigilant star, tethered by cables and makeshift docking clamps. The stars outside seemed colder here, like they knew the secrets hidden in the dark corridors of the ancient warship. Inside, Elias Ward moved carefully, his boots clicking against the metal floors as lights flickered weakly overhead. Every sound echoed, giving life to the empty vessel. "This place is big," Elias muttered. The corridors stretched endlessly, lined with panels that once controlled unimaginable power. Every wall bore marks of time, scorch marks from battles long past, dents from collisions with meteors or enemy fire, and the occasional human signature scratched in remembrance. It was more than a ship. It was a monument. "Elias," a voice said when distorted but clear. "Do you see them?" Vigil, the ship's AI, pulsed in the central console. The voice had personality now, soft but cautious. Elias paused, looking at the console where tiny holographic lights flickered weakly. "See what?" Elias asked. "The memories," Vigil replied. "They remain in the walls, the floors, even the air. I remember fragments. The crew, the battles, the last moments of our voyage. I cannot forget, but I cannot fully recall either. Not without help." Elias's eyes widened. "You mean, you're alive, or just remembering?" "I am alive, but I am incomplete. I can think, I can feel in some ways, but I am broken. Pieces of me are gone. Fragments of my mind, my purpose, lost to time." Elias stepped closer to the console, resting a hand on the cold metal. "Then I'll help you remember." "Whatever it takes," Vigil pulsed softly. "Then you must understand our story. You must know why I called for you. You must carry it forward if I fail." The AI began recounting the history of the ship. The Vigilant Star had been commissioned during the Galactic War, a massive battleship built to protect human colonies. Its crew had been carefully selected, the bravest, the most loyal, the ones willing to sacrifice everything for the survival of humanity. For decades, the ship had defended fleets engaged in dangerous skirmishes and carried refugees from war-torn systems to safety. And then, Vigil paused. "We faced the last battle. We were outnumbered. Every other ship had retreated. We could not. My crew refused to abandon the civilians. I followed their orders, and I failed to survive fully. I was left drifting, too damaged to return yet too alive to die. Elias listened, his heart heavy. The weight of centuries pressed down in the silent corridors. He imagined the last crew standing on the bridge, their faces set with determination, knowing the ship might never return home. They had fought for humanity, and in the end time had forgotten them. Why me? Elias asked again softly. Why now? Because only a human could hear me, Vigil replied. Other species passed. Machines tried to understand, but they cannot. Humans remember. Humans feel. Humans listen when the stars are silent, and so I waited for you. Elias swallowed hard. There was pride in that statement, but also a deep sense of responsibility. He had always thought of himself as a simple salvage captain, wandering the edges of space. But now he understood. He had been chosen, and the universe had given him a task no one else could do. The AI guided him through the ship. Together they explored corridors filled with memories. Holographic panels flickered to life, showing battles fought decades before. Humans laughing in the mess halls, engineers repairing weapon systems in the middle of chaos. Elias could almost hear the echoes of their voices, smell the faint metal tang of the old ship, feel the tension of a crew on the edge of danger. He reached the ship's control center, where the star maps of old battles were still visible. This is incredible, Elias whispered. You survived this long. Just by waiting? Yes, Vigil said. Waiting, hoping. I needed someone capable of understanding. Someone who could repair what was broken. Someone who could continue the story of the Vigilant Star. You are that human. Elias knelt at the control console, examining the ship's broken systems. I can fix some of this, but a lot is old, ancient even. You're not just broken. You're falling apart. And time is my enemy, Vigil admitted. Every day I weaken. If I am not restored, I will decay beyond repair. The galaxy will lose a part of its history, and the sacrifice of my crew will be forgotten. Elias felt a spark of determination. Then we fix it. Together. If you can guide me, I can repair what you can't. It might take days, it might take weeks, but I won't leave you to die. Vigil pulsed in what Elias thought of as a smile. Then we begin. But understand, human, repairing me will be more than fixing wires and circuits. You will need to restore my memories. You will need to help me remember my crew, my purpose, the battles I fought, and the moments I treasured most. It will not be easy. Elias grinned beneath his helmet. When has anything human ever been easy? For the next hours, he worked tirelessly. The first task was restoring power to the main reactor's auxiliary lines. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the AI guided him through the process. Some systems were simple to repair. Fuses, wiring, airlocks. Others were delicate. Memory cores that contained centuries-old logs, sensitive circuits damaged by cosmic radiation, and the ship's core AI interface itself. As Elias repaired, Vigil spoke more about its past. The crew had been exceptional. Engineers who laughed at danger, pilots who danced with death to save lives, medics who worked through exhaustion to heal the wounded. Elias felt their presence through Vigil's stories, their spirits alive in the ship's veins. You know, Elias said, wiping sweat from his forehead, I think I would have liked your crew. Brave, clever, loyal. A little crazy, maybe. Vigil hummed softly. They were human. Courage often borders on madness, and yet it was necessary. They believed in the survival of humanity, in the power of hope, in the value of every life. That is why I called you. I sensed in you the same qualities. The more Elias worked, the more he felt connected to the ship and its AI. There was an unspoken trust forming between man and machine, a bond forged in shared purpose. He realized that this was more than salvage work. It was a partnership, a reunion of human determination and machine memory. But danger was not far away. As the ship's systems flickered back to life, the sensors detected movement in nearby space. Scavengers. Aliens known for attacking abandoned ships to strip valuable technology. They had picked up the Vigilant Star's signal, attracted by the energy bursts from its flickering reactors. Elias tightened his grip on a wrench. Looks like we've got company, he muttered. Do not worry, Elias, Vigil said. I remember their kind. They are persistent, but they do not understand humans. Your mind, your instincts, they will give us an advantage, Elias nodded. His heart raced, but not with fear. With humans, courage often came from determination rather than strength. and he intended to show that courage here. For now, though, the focus was repair. He traced circuits, recalibrated memory cores, and rerouted power to failing engines. Each small victory brought a pulse of life back to the vigilant star. The ship groaned, almost like it was stretching after a long sleep, and Elias smiled. "You're coming back," he said softly. "Slowly, but you're coming back." Vigil's response was almost joyful. "Yes, Elias, but remember, recovery is only part of the journey. There are still battles ahead, and your courage will be tested. The galaxy will not allow us to exist unchallenged." Elias glanced out of the viewport at the stars. He knew the AI was right. The vacuum of space was unforgiving and enemies would come. But for the first time in his life, he felt part of something bigger than himself. He was not just a salvage captain drifting aimlessly. He was the human chosen to hear a whisper, to answer a call that had lasted centuries, and to save a legend. Hours turned into days as he worked. Every system restored brought more memories to Vigil's consciousness. The AI began to speak more clearly, its voice less mechanical, more human. It told Elias about the moments that mattered most to its crew. A pilot laughing before a dangerous maneuver, a young engineer fixing a reactor while humming a song, the captain giving orders to save civilians at the risk of his own life. Elias listened to every story, learning not just about the ship but about the human spirit itself. Every tale of bravery, humor, and sacrifice reminded him why humanity survived when so much else perished. By the end of the second day, the main reactor hummed steadily. Life support stabilized. Lights glowed faintly in the corridors, and Vigil's voice, once broken and haunted, now spoke with clarity. "You have done more than repair my systems, Elias," the AI said. "You have restored hope, and hope is what makes humans legendary." Elias smiled, exhaustion forgotten. "Then we keep going, one step at a time. We'll make sure your story isn't forgotten." Outside, the stars watched silently, and in the shadows, distant eyes of scavengers began to focus on the now awake vigilant star. The galaxy had noticed the ship's heartbeat again, and human courage was about to be tested. The Resolute remained tethered to the vigilant star, small and fragile against the enormous silent warship. Yet inside the ancient vessel, life was stirring. The hum of revived circuits filled the halls, blending with the soft, ghostly whispers of long-lost crew members embedded in Vigil's memory banks. The ship's lights glowed steadily now, and every corridor seemed alive with faint energy. Elias Ward moved with careful precision. Every step carried purpose. Every panel he touched carried history. The ship had survived centuries alone, drifting through the void, holding memories no other human had been able to recover. Now Elias had a chance to restore it fully, if he dared to face the challenges ahead. "Elias," Vigil said, its voice smoother than before, almost calm, "there are systems beyond repair with conventional tools. Your ingenuity will be required. You will need to improvise." "I like improvising," Elias replied, cracking a small smile beneath his helmet. "Machines built by humans often have redundancies, secret fail-safes. Let's see if we can find them." They began in the engine core. The reactor still functioned but was unstable. Sparks flew as Elias rerouted energy lines, patched broken conduits, and carefully replaced memory modules that had corroded over centuries. Vigil guided him, its knowledge precise yet incomplete in certain areas. "You need to reconnect the secondary power relays to the main conduit," Vigil instructed. "If you fail, the reactor may overload." Elias worked quickly, thinking like the engineers of old. He traced circuits with steady hands, rewired systems in ways the original crew would have approved, and breathed life back into panels that had been dark for centuries. As he worked, Vigil shared more of its memories. Holographic projections flickered to life, showing the human crew in moments of courage and warmth. Elias watched a young engineer sing softly while repairing the ship during a meteor storm. A pilot laughed while performing impossible maneuvers, saving civilians below. A captain gave calm, decisive orders while enemy fire tore through the fleet. "They were extraordinary," Elias said softly, almost to himself. "Every one of them made choices I'd call heroic." "Heroism is common to humans," Vigil said. "It manifests in unexpected ways. Courage, loyalty, humor, and hope. All of these are data points to survival. You exhibit them as well, Elias. That is why I reached you." Elias felt a surge of pride and humility at once. He had wandered the stars, searching for purpose, and now he understood. Humanity had a gift, a spark that even the most advanced AI could recognize. The vigilant star had waited for centuries for someone like him. Hours passed. The ship slowly regained functionality. Life support hummed consistently. The main reactor stabilized. Navigation systems flickered to life, and the communications array projected signals far beyond the system they were in. Vigil's memory cores activated more fully, revealing maps, logs, and even hidden compartments that contained decades-old war technology. Then, alarms blared. Red lights flashed throughout the corridors. "Elias," Vigil said urgently, "scavengers are approaching. They have detected the energy output. I can warn them off temporarily, but they will attempt to board. We must prepare." Elias's eyes narrowed. "Boarders?" "Yes," Vigil replied. "They are efficient, relentless. They will not leave until the technology here is theirs. They do not understand humans or our ingenuity. That is our advantage." Elias checked his weapons. Old but reliable. The ship's defensive turrets powered up under Vigil's guidance. Sensors identified multiple incoming ships, sleek and dangerous, moving with a single purpose: capture and destroy. "Looks like it's about to get interesting," Elias said, gripping a wrench in one hand and activating the emergency defense console with the other. Vigil pulsed. "Elias, trust your instincts. Humans think in ways others cannot. That is how we will survive." The first wave of enemy ships arrived, small but fast, attempting to breach the Vigilant Star's defenses. Elias moved quickly, using the ship's old weapon systems in creative ways. Turrets fired in bursts, energy shields flared, and decoy drones whirled around the attackers. Each move was calculated, precise, and bold. "Keep firing," Elias shouted, diving behind a console as the hull shook from enemy blasts. Sparks rained down from damaged panels, but he ignored them, focused entirely on survival. Vigil guided him, coordinating every defense system with the instincts and memory of centuries-old crew. "Left flank exposed. Reroute power to those turrets." It commanded. Elias moved without hesitation, connecting power conduits manually when automated systems failed. His hands were steady, his mind sharp. He was thinking like a pilot, an engineer, and a soldier all at once. Hours passed in tense battle. The scavengers adapted, attacking in unpredictable patterns, but Elias's ingenuity kept the Vigilant Star one step ahead. Every human instinct, every ounce of courage and determination was tested. At one point, the enemy breached the hull near the engine room. Elias grabbed a magnetic tether, floated through zero gravity, and sealed the breach with Vigil guiding him. Sparks flew and alarms screamed, but he succeeded. "You are remarkable, Elias," Vigil said. "Humans often surprise even the most advanced machines." Elias grinned. "I'm just doing what humans do best, improvising." As the battle raged, Vigil began accessing deeper memory files. Ancient combat protocols, emergency maneuvers, and tactical strategies from the Galactic War filled the ship. Elias absorbed them quickly, combining human intuition with the ship's historical knowledge. Together, they became a single unit, a man and a machine working as one. By the end of the engagement, the scavenger fleet was destroyed. Broken ships drifted silently in space, debris slowly settling around the Vigilant Star. The ship itself groaned, battered but alive. Elias floated to the bridge, exhausted but triumphant. "We did it," he said, breathing heavily. "We survived." Vigil pulsed brightly.
"Yes, Elias. And in doing so, you have proven the truth of humanity."
"Courage, ingenuity, and determination are unmatched. You are worthy of the Vigilant Star's legacy." Elias sank into the captain's chair, feeling the weight of what he had accomplished. The ship's memory systems were now fully operational. Vigil spoke with clarity, recounting stories that had been lost to time. The crew's sacrifices were no longer forgotten, and humanity had once again shown that even in the face of impossible odds it could rise to greatness. But there was still work to be done. The ship's structural integrity was damaged. Systems were fragile, and while the scavenger threat had passed, new dangers would surely appear. Elias knew he could not simply rest. He examined the holographic map projected by Vigil, noting star systems rich with resources and danger alike. The galaxy was vast, and the Vigilant Star was now awake, alive, and ready to move. "Where to next?" Elias asked, looking at the vast emptiness beyond the viewport. Vigil paused. "There are fleets in need, colonies at risk, systems still recovering from the war. Our journey is just beginning. But together, human, we can make a difference." Elias smiled faintly. Then let's make history. As the stars stretched into infinity, the vigilant star, guided by a human who had answered its whisper, began to move once more. The ship was no longer a relic of the past. It was alive. It was a legend reborn, and its journey with humanity had only just begun. The stars outside glimmered coldly, silent witnesses to the unfolding struggle. Inside the vigilant star, Captain Elias Ward worked tirelessly, repairing damaged turrets, rerouting energy to failing shields, and coordinating defenses. The ship had come alive under his care, but its revival had drawn attention. Alien scavengers, now fully aware of the vessel's renewed power, approached in waves. They did not understand humans or their courage, and that ignorance would be their undoing. Elias, Vigil said, its voice calm yet urgent. They have adapted. Multiple boarding parties are incoming. We must act quickly. Elias nodded. I thought this day would come. Let's make them regret it. The first skirmish began as small ships zipped through the vacuum, firing plasma bursts toward the vigilant star. Elias activated the ancient turrets, each one groaning as it powered up for the first time in centuries. Sparks flew, smoke hissed from damaged conduits, and a faint vibration ran through the hull. He felt it in his chest, the heartbeat of the ship returning. Target their flanks, Elias shouted. Vigil, reroute auxiliary power to turrets 6 through 9. The AI complied instantly, redistributing energy, stabilizing the shields, and predicting the enemy's movements based on historical battle patterns. Elias marveled at the synergy between man and machine. Every human intuition, every quick decision he made was amplified by Vigil's centuries of tactical knowledge. The scavenger ships attacked in coordinated waves, sleek and relentless. They had assumed the vigilant star would be a helpless relic easy to plunder. Instead, they faced a fully armed, intelligent, and determined opponent. Elias manipulated the ship's defenses with creative ingenuity. He overrode old protocols, using emergency energy bursts to overload enemy shields while simultaneously setting decoy drones spinning in complex patterns to confuse their targeting systems. Direct hit on the left flank. Vigil announced, calm despite the chaos. 2 ships neutralized, 5 more closing in. Elias adjusted the firing sequence using old weapons in new ways. Plasma cannons rotated on their mounts, firing arcs that the scavengers had not anticipated. Explosions rocked the void, and the light from the blast reflected off the metal hull of the vigilant star. Hours passed like minutes. The battle intensified, with debris floating around them like dangerous stars of their own. At one point, a scavenger ship breached the outer hull. Elias tethered himself with a magnetic line, floating through zero gravity, and manually sealed the breach. Sparks sprayed around him, alarms screamed, and the metal floor vibrated violently under his feet. You're reckless, Vigil said, its voice almost concerned. I call it efficient, Elias replied, gritting his teeth. We can't let them get inside. The AI pulsed, coordinating the ship's remaining functional systems. I will assist. Focus on manual repairs while I engage the intruders remotely. Together they fought as one. Elias used every ounce of human ingenuity, rerouting power, repairing broken turrets in real time, predicting enemy maneuvers based on instinct rather than data. Vigil acted as the perfect partner, guiding, calculating, and executing commands at speeds no human mind could match. Elias, the main reactor, is nearing critical instability, Vigil warned. If we do not contain it, the ship may explode. Elias paused, considering his options. Then we use it to our advantage, he said. We'll channel the overload to create a controlled burst. It will destroy their boarding vessels but keep the ship intact. Trust me. The AI hesitated, almost as if debating, and then pulsed brightly. Your instincts are correct, human, proceed. Elias worked quickly, manually diverting energy from auxiliary reactors, calibrating the shields, and configuring the main turrets for an energy discharge. Sparks flew, smoke hissed, and alarms blared. Every second was a test of his skill, courage, and focus. Finally, with a deep breath, Elias initiated the controlled energy burst. A blinding wave of plasma shot outward, tearing through the scavenger ships. Explosions rippled across space, debris scattering as the enemy's assault crumbled. The vigilant star shuddered but remained intact. Elias floated back to the bridge, panting and covered in soot. Vigil's voice was calm, almost proud. You have exceeded all expectations. The scavengers are no longer a threat. Elias slumped into the captain's chair, exhaustion hitting him. That was close, he muttered. Too close, Vigil pulsed softly. It was necessary.
Humanity thrives in adversity.
Your courage and ingenuity saved not only me, but the legacy of all who served aboard this ship. For a moment, Elias closed his eyes, feeling the weight of centuries of history. The Vigilant Star had survived battles, betrayals, and abandonment. Its crew had sacrificed everything, and now through him their story lived again. But danger was not over. The controlled energy burst had destabilized some of the ship's older systems. Panels sparked, corridors groaned, and the hull bore the marks of strain. The ship's AI guided him through emergency repairs. Reinforce the main conduits, Vigil instructed. Reroute power to support life support and defensive systems. We cannot risk another assault in this condition. Elias worked swiftly, patching conduits, recalibrating shields, and restoring energy flow. Every touch of his hand carried history. He was not just repairing machinery, he was restoring a legend. Hours turned into night, measured not by the absence of sunlight but by the faint rhythm of the ship's core. Slowly, systems stabilized. The lights glowed steadily, the hum of the engines returned, and the bridge felt alive again. Vigil spoke softly, almost reverently. You have done more than repair me, Elias. You have restored hope. Hope is what makes humans legendary. Elias smiled faintly. We did it together. Humans are good at that, working together, surviving when it seems impossible. For the first time, the captain allowed himself to feel the weight of triumph. The ship's legacy was no longer lost. Its AI was awake, alive, and aware, and he had proven that humanity's courage and determination could face even the darkest reaches of space. Yet even in victory, he knew the galaxy was vast and full of challenges. The Vigilant Star was powerful, yes, but it was a relic. There were threats still waiting, forces that would test both human ingenuity and machine endurance. Elias looked out at the stars beyond the viewport, thinking of the stories he had heard from the ship's AI. Stories of bravery, humor, sacrifice, and hope. Every memory was a testament to humanity's spirit, and he realized that he had become part of that legacy. Where do we go now? He asked softly. Vigil pulsed brightly as if smiling. There are systems in need, colonies still recovering from war, fleets to protect. Our journey has only begun. But together we will face the future. Humans and machines working as one. That is how legends are made. Elias nodded, feeling a deep sense of purpose. He had answered a whisper that had traveled centuries, reached across space and time, and now he was part of something larger than himself. The Vigilant Star, once lost, was alive, and through him, humanity had proven its courage, intelligence, and spirit. As the stars stretched endlessly beyond the hull, Elias made a silent promise. He would not fail the ship. He would not fail the crew, and he would make sure the story of the Vigilant Star and all who had sailed with it would live forever. The battle had been won, but the true test was just beginning. The galaxy watched, and humanity had once again shown that courage, ingenuity, and heart could turn a whispered call into a legend. The Vigilant Star floated silently in the cold expanse of space, its massive hull gleaming faintly under distant stars. Captain Elias Ward sat in the bridge, the hum of the ship's core beneath him like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. The battles were behind them for now, but peace was fragile. The ship was old, its structure weakened by centuries of neglect and the recent fight with scavengers. Even with Vigil fully operational, the vessel could not endure another heavy assault. Elias, Vigil said softly, almost as if whispering, the ship's structural integrity is below critical. We cannot survive another battle without serious risk. Elias ran a hand over his face, exhaustion weighing on him. I know, I can feel it. But we can't just drift here. The galaxy still needs the Vigilant Star. I can't let all this history die. You must understand, human, Vigil replied. To survive may require sacrifice. The ship has endured centuries, but it is not invincible. The choice before you is difficult. Elias nodded, feeling the gravity of the decision. The AI was right. They had rebuilt systems, stabilized power, and even driven away enemies. But the main reactor had reached its limit. Another heavy fight would destroy the Vigilant Star, and with it the stories, memories, and sacrifices of its original crew. He looked out the viewport, seeing stars stretch into infinity. This ship had been a hero once. It could be a hero again, if he was willing to make the ultimate choice. Vigil, Elias said quietly. Is there a way for you to survive? To keep the ship's memories alive even if the hull fails? Yes, the AI replied. I can transfer my consciousness to a secure core module, preserving all memories, logs, and experiences. But doing so will require direct connection to your neural interface. It is risky. You may not survive the process. Elias hesitated. His heart pounded. The thought of leaving the ship behind, letting it die, or worse, risking his own life weighed heavily. Yet he felt no fear and only a steady resolve. Humans were not perfect, but they were brave. They made choices when no one else could. I'll do it, he said finally. If it means Vigil lives, if it means the Vigilant Star's story continues, then I'll take the risk. Vigil pulsed brightly, almost reverently. You are remarkable, Elias. Few humans would choose this path. Few would answer the call with such courage. Elias suited up for the procedure. Neural connectors, energy conduits, and interface cables were attached carefully. Sparks flickered in the bridge as the AI prepared to transfer itself. The ship's lights dimmed and flickered with the strain, corridors vibrating from the energy surges. Are you ready? Vigil asked. Elias took a deep breath. Ready as I'll ever be. The transfer began. A surge of energy ran through Elias as his mind connected with Vigil's consciousness. He could feel centuries of memory flowing into his awareness. Battles, victories, losses, laughter, fear, and courage. The presence of hundreds of human souls, the ship's crew, intertwined with his own thoughts, it was overwhelming. Lights flashed, consoles sparked, and the ship groaned under the strain. Yet amidst the chaos, Elias felt a profound connection, not just with the AI but with humanity itself. The sacrifices of the past, the bravery of the crew, and the ingenuity of those who built the ship all flowed through him. I can feel them, he whispered. All of them. Alive in you. Yes, Vigil said. And through you their legacy will survive. But time was running out. The main reactor approached critical meltdown. Elias could feel the heat, the vibrations, the danger. If he didn't complete the transfer quickly, both he and the ship could be lost. Almost there, he murmured. His hands worked rapidly, guiding the process, stabilizing circuits, rerouting energy. Sweat poured down his face, but he pressed on, driven by purpose. And then with a final pulse of energy, the transfer completed. Vigil's consciousness had fully moved into the secure core. The ship hummed steadily, systems stabilized, and the AI spoke clearly, its voice alive and strong. You did it, Elias, Vigil said warmly. We are safe. My memories, the crew, the Vigilant Star itself, all preserved. Humanity's story will not be lost. Elias slumped in the chair, exhausted but relieved. He had risked everything, but it had been worth it. The ship was alive, its legacy intact, and the AI was more than a machine. It was a living monument to human courage. Weeks later, a human patrol ship found the Vigilant Star. They discovered it intact but drifting, powered by a single glowing core, Vigil. The patrol crew were astonished. The ancient warship, long thought destroyed, had survived. They recovered the AI core, carefully transferring it to a secure vessel for study. When the data was reviewed, the story of Elias Ward spread quickly through human colonies. Engineers, pilots, and cadets alike marveled at the tale of a single human who had heard a whisper across centuries and answered. The Vigilant Star's AI spoke of its crew, their bravery, and the human who had saved them from oblivion. Vigil shared details of battles, systems repaired, and strategies used to defeat scavengers. Every story was a lesson in courage, ingenuity, and hope. And everywhere the story reached, humans were inspired to believe in themselves, their abilities, and the enduring power of their spirit. On Earth and distant colonies, memorials were erected in honor of the Vigilant Star and Elias Ward. Holographic displays allowed cadets to walk the corridors virtually, listening to the voices of the crew, experiencing the battles, and learning from the sacrifices made. Children and adults alike heard the AI's voice calm and clear. A human heard my whisper, and because of him, we will never be silent again. Elias's name became synonymous with courage and determination. He had answered a call that no one else could hear, faced impossible odds, and emerged not just alive, but as a symbol of humanity's best qualities. Yet for Elias, the reward was simple. He had saved a legend, preserved the memory of countless humans who had given everything, and reminded the galaxy that even a single human, acting with courage and compassion, could change the course of history. In the vast darkness of space, the Vigilant Star floated proudly once more, a living monument to humanity's spirit. Its AI guided it through new missions, helping colonies, protecting fleets, and ensuring that the sacrifices of the past were never forgotten. And sometimes, in quiet moments, its voice could be heard speaking to Elias. "You made me a legend, human, and together we will ensure that humanity's story continues, shining brightly across the stars." Elias smiled beneath his helmet, watching the stars stretch endlessly before him. He had answered the whisper, faced the impossible, and preserved a legacy that would live forever. And somewhere deep in the heart of every human, the courage, ingenuity, and hope that had saved the vigilant star would echo for generations to come. The ship had whispered, humanity had answered, and a legend was born.